Hello, this is Rico Cavella, and this is your Ageless Body Self-Care Guide, the Operations Manual for the Human Body. And the title of this session is, it's about energy, how to fix your fatigue. And this is such an important one. You know, we know now that one of the most searched for terms on the internet is about fatigue and how to have more energy. So it's a huge problem that we want to get a handle on. And so we're very fortunate to have one of the world's foremost experts in this field. And he is, well, I lost my thing. Okay. He is the #1 best-selling author of Fix Your Fatigue, the 4-step process to resolving fatigue, achieving abundant energy, and reclaiming your life. And he is also one of the world's leading experts on finding the root cause of fatigue and resolving them naturally. So I want to welcome to this episode, Dr. Evan Hirsch.
Hey Rico, thanks so much for having me on.
Oh, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you coming and sharing your wisdom and your knowledge with us.
Happy to
So
be a part.
thank you so much. So once again, I just want, you really want to pay attention to close attention to this one because again, these days I don't hardly know anybody who doesn't think they need more energy, right? We live in such a rush society and people are just overstressed for not good reasons really, you know? And so this is so important to really find the root cause. So I think the good place for us to really start is to really, how do you define something that's really like a chronic fatigue?
How do you define it?
Yeah.
So it's really tiredness that's not relieved by rest.
Okay.
So, oftentimes when we were younger, you'd tie one on, or you'd have a weekend where maybe you're studying for finals or whatever, and you're exhausted, and so then you rest and you sleep for a week or two when you got home, but then you're back to normal. And so this is basically a tiredness that's not relieved by rest. So you're sleeping for 7 to 9 hours a night, but you're still tired when you wake up in the morning. You're tired throughout the day. Maybe you have low energy throughout the day, or maybe you've got peaks and valleys where you're crashing throughout the day, especially at around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, or you can't get by without drinking an energy drink or caffeine, coffee, whatever. But that's the definition.
Okay. So tell us, I mean, obviously we want to have more energy and energy is important, but tell us really, what's really the importance of having energy more than just so you can accomplish stuff, but it's also an indication of some serious health problems that could arise later, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So if you take a look at all the causes of fatigue, I found that there's 33 different potential causes, and that everybody who has fatigue has around 20 of those causes.
Oh.
What's really interesting is that a number of those causes are also the causes of heart attack, heart
Yeah.
disease, stroke, and Alzheimer's. So it's a way of your body telling you, hey, there's something wrong and you need to fix this now, otherwise you're going to get one of these things sooner than you're supposed to.
Yeah. So that's what inspired you to write your book, Fix Your Fatigue?
Well, I had fatigue for 5 years, and it just
Oh.
about destroyed my business, destroyed my marriage, destroyed my relationship with my daughter, destroyed my life. And I got over it by finding all of these causes. I pretty much had every single cause that I've discovered. And I had to go through this 4-step process that we're going to talk about today on getting rid of it. And then I was able to achieve this amazing life that I have now.
Well, and that's such an important thing. So first of all, I want to thank you, for all your efforts to really, research and find all these causes. So I think let's really get into that. So let's talk about some of the main or all the causes that you've come up with so people can really see what they're doing and how they need to make some changes.
Yeah, and I could talk about this for hours, but we're going to keep it
Yeah.
short here.
Yeah.
So those 33 different causes can really be grouped into deficiencies and toxicities.
Mm.
So basically things that are not in the body that are supposed to be in the body, those are the deficiencies. And then things that are in the body that aren't supposed to be in the body, and those are the toxicities. So deficiencies are things like deficiencies in hormones. So that's adrenal gland dysfunction, that's thyroid dysfunction, that's sex hormone dysfunction. Things like mitochondrial dysfunction. The mitochondria is the energy center of every cell in the body. It produces about 70 to 80% of our energy. And it actually gets squashed by all of the toxicities over here. So that plays a big role. Lifestyle deficiencies, and so this is not enough sleep. So if you're burning the candle at both ends, you can definitely get fatigue. Not enough water, not enough good food, not enough movement, So if you're sitting on the couch, sitting is the new smoking. If you're
Right.
not getting, that's why you see me here with my standing station, right?
Yeah, I should be
Um,
saying that too.
and so it's, if you're not getting enough movement, that can also decrease. So it's always a combination of all of these. So those are the deficiencies. And then when you look at the toxicities, we're looking at things like heavy metals. 100,000 pounds of mercury are dumped into our oceans every year that we then consume. 84,000 chemicals are present in the cosmetics and all the things
Yeah,
that we're exposed to, from pesticides and herbicides and insecticides to plastics and other toxins. Molds are found, or water damaged buildings are found in half of all the buildings in our country and in first world countries, because fodder for that mold is things like particle board and drywall. And
yeah.
so, and those water damaged buildings, most of those have mold, and mold is very insidious and causes so many issues related to fatigue and chronic fatigue. And then there's infection. So when you have heavy metals, chemicals, or molds, they hijack the immune system off into left field, and then you get infections that become opportunistic. And this can be Lyme-type infections like Borrelia, Bartonella, Babesia, Anaplasma. It can be things like viruses like Epstein-Barr virus or cytomegalovirus or HHV6, or even, this new global epidemic that we've got going on that's resulting in a lot of fatigue. And then things like yeast and bacteria and parasites can also be part of this whole picture. So then another toxicity is allergies. So food allergies, eating the wrong foods that are actually causing inflammation in your body. And then inhaled allergies. So whether that's molds or whether that's grasses or weeds or whatever, those things that are outside that are causing inflammation as well. And then the last thing is um, negative emotional states or negative
Yeah.
emotional barriers. So this is a huge part of this. I'm only mentioning it briefly just because we can't go into all of it, but know what your mindset is and the things you think about. 80% of the things that we think about are negative. And that causes a lot of stress on the human body. And so retraining that mindset, going through that process. And if you've had abuse or adverse events that have happened in your life that have affected you in numerous ways, you have to do what's called limbic retraining or nervous system retraining or vagal retraining in order to get you back into what's called the parasympathetic nervous system so that you can actually heal and get over your fatigue. So that's like big picture. And then within those are the other 33, but within those, so that's big picture deficiencies and toxicities.
So that's so well said. Thank you so much. So I think what the message here is that this is a complex situation. It's not something you can fix by taking energy drinks, which were not really energy drinks, right? They're actually they're actually causing they're depleting your energy actually. And so again, the message is it's a complex subject, and if you realize, like Dr. Evans said, that you do have some chronic fatigue, you need to get some help. You need to get some medical help, and somebody like Dr. Evan here that can really pinpoint what's going on, because it's a complex situation. And it's not just a matter of not eating healthy or not exercising, it's all these other things. So it's something that you really need to get a handle on. So tell us, well, again, I mean, it's something that's really difficult to treat, actually, isn't it?
It is, yeah, and the reason why that is because, like I said, there's 33 different causes, and everybody who has fatigue has 20 plus causes.
Mhm.
And what makes that even more challenging is that everybody who has fatigue has different 20 plus causes. So, the causes that you would have would be maybe 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, and I would have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So our treatments would definitely be very different. So when someone hears about, when someone's got fatigue and they hear about a friend who had fatigue who got over it, they're like, what'd you do? What's that treatment that you did? And in reality, that
Uh,
treatment most of the time isn't going to work for you because you've
right.
got very different causes. And it's this combination, it's this total body burden that ends up happening from all of these causes over time that creates this mass effect that ends up causing the dysfunction. Because a lot of times people will say, I was fine until this day. And that's when everything kind of started falling apart. And maybe it was a breakup. Maybe it was, car accident. Maybe it was, I don't know, medical school, whatever it was. All of a sudden you get a stressor, and you've had these stressors over your life, whether they're mental, emotional stressors or physical stressors like the toxicities we talked about, the heavy metals, the chemicals, the molds, the infections that you acquire over time. And then all you need is to have, a mold exposure, and then bam, all of a sudden you've got fatigue. So it's that whole combination that, not enough doctors are looking at, even if they all doctors mean well, 99.99% of them mean well. They just don't have the knowledge that they need to in order to explore this, whether they're naturopaths, functional medicine docs, or even just conventional docs, they're not looking at all 33 different causes. And it makes sense that if you figure out what the problem is, you can actually fix it, right? Because whether you're fixing a car and you've got a problem with your carburetor, if you pull off your tailpipe, you're not going to have success, right? So you have to know what your problem is or what your problems are in order to be able to fix them and have success.
Yeah, so well said. So again, I think the point here is that all these things are cumulative, right? They're cumulative in our body, and then one day your body can't deal with it anymore, and you really break down. So it's so important. So, well, let's get right into your four-step process that you work with people.
Yeah, so I found it's gone through a number of permutations through the years, but I found this to be the most successful. So the first step in this four-step process is to find the causes. So if there's nothing that you take from this lecture, the one thing that I want you to remember is that you've got to know what your causes are. And this is really big. I mean, because you can fix your lifestyle, you can sleep more, you can eat better food, you can move more, you can drink more water, and that's going to help a huge percent of people, just on its own. I know that most of your program and the people that you've been talking to are talking about a lot of those things that you have so much control over. You're really empowered to do so many good things for your body, and that's going to help a certain percent of people. But now we're talking about those people where, everybody that I see is pretty much doing all of those good things, and they're still tired, right? So then the question is, what's happening? And so this first step is figuring out, of those 33 potential causes, what causes do you have, so that with laser-like efficiency, we can go after them like we just talked about. The second step is to replace the deficiencies. Right? We talked about deficiencies and toxicities. So the first thing we want to do is we want to start going after those deficiencies, replacing the adrenals, boosting the mitochondria, fixing the thyroid, all of those things, because that's going to help you feel better as fast as possible. It's also going to enable you to deal with getting rid of the toxicities, which is what this process is all about. But it's also the hardest part of this process.
Yeah.
So, if we could just go straight ahead and remove heavy metals, chemicals, molds, infections, negative emotions, boom, that would get you better in an instant. But unfortunately, that process of extricating those things out of your body leaves your body very upset and very angry and more stressed. And consequently, we have to replace those deficiencies first so you can deal with the stress of removing those toxicities.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's step 2. Step 3 is opening up the detoxification pathways so that when we do start to remove the toxicities in step 4, you're pulling those toxicities into the bloodstream and you're able to get rid of it. So you want to make sure that your bowels are open. You're pooping at least once a day, hopefully twice a day, that your liver and your kidney pathways are open, that your lymph, which is the garbage system of the body, are open. So I think of these different detoxification pathways as tubes that are going through the body where, if those tubes are not open, when you grab the toxicities out of the tissues, pull them into the bloodstream, guess what? They got no place to go. They're going to go right back into the tissues, right? So it's important to have those open so that when you pull those toxicities in, they're able to flush out of the body, okay? So that's step 3. And then step 4 is removing those toxicities, the heavy metals, chemicals, molds, and infections. And going through this whole process is the way that people are going to be uber successful at getting rid of their fatigue.
Yeah, that's so good. So for people who understand that this is what they need, well, first of all, we recommend that they get your book and they can learn a lot. They can really learn a lot about fixing fatigue. But how could can they work with you other than in person? Do you do remote telemedicine?
I do, absolutely. Yeah. I've had a remote or virtual practice for the last 2 years.
Oh, great.
So
Well, you're
yeah,
ahead of
so
the curve. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, definitely, definitely was a good idea.
Yeah.
And part of that was my journey in realizing I had 10 employees at one point and 4,000 square feet of office space. And I looked at my life and I wasn't spending enough time with my family.
Oh, great.
And I was like, hey, what do I like about my work and what don't I? And let's do more of what I do like. So I kind of trimmed it down and now I work from my home. And I do that also so that I can help people and I work as a health coach, so I can help people across the
Great.
world. You know, I've got people in my programs from as far away as Israel and Europe and all over the place. So I have several tiered programs based on what people can afford and what they need. So I have one-on-one support that includes me. I've got one-on-one support with my health coach. I've got
Oh,
one-on-one support with my nervous system retraining coach that helps to fix those emotional issues. And then I also have a course and a workbook that takes people through this four-step process, and then they can add on the different amount of support that they need going through the process. So people can find me at fixyourfatigue.com and they can check out what I have available. They can get on a no pressure call with me to see if we're a good fit to work together.
that is so good. Well, also, I want to remind our viewers too that with this program, with your video and your audio, and there's a PDF that has all Dr. Evans' his contact information and all his programs and how you can contact him, how you can get his book. So, would you recommend, first of all, someone to get your book first, or just to contact you directly, or what would you say?
It depends on how fast they want to get better.
Yeah.
So, the book is great. Everybody tells me that there's tons of information in there and that it's well laid out and they can understand what I'm talking about. But inevitably, when people, I mean, there are definitely people who do what I say in the book, and they get better. But most of the time, they're not getting 100%. And so, if
Yeah.
they do want my support, they jump into one of my programs and they get me either one-on-one, or they get me in a group fashion where I answer all the questions that are needed. So it really depends on the individual, how motivated they are, what their budget is, and how fast they want to get better. Because obviously, the more that they invest in their health, whether with me, whether with somebody else, the faster they're going to get better. Because when you invest a lot of money, you are going to be that much more motivated to move through a program and make sure you get your money's worth.
That is so good. I want to just point out too that you gave them some other good information about lifestyle. How having that big office and all the employees that really wasn't serving your
Right.
purpose and fulfilling your needs. So that's another good lesson to always try and do how whatever you're doing, do it in a way that not only serves everybody else, but it takes care of your needs as well. So you feel really good about what you're doing as well. So that's another good message that you gave to our people. So again, I want to, and also I want to commend you. We don't see too many MDs that are actually coaches, and that I think
Right.
that's so important. And I also want to say, because I'm a coach as well, and so these days it's very well known that coaching is the surest and fastest way to achieve your goals, whatever they are. So
Right.
I highly recommend Dr. Evan as your medical health coach. It's just, and so
And I have coaches, I have a business
yeah,
coach. I
yeah.
have a voice coach because I'm a singer.
Oh,
So like whatever kind of coach, like whatever you want to achieve in life, you need a coach, right? You want to play piano, you take piano lessons, we call that, but essentially they're a piano coach, right? So if you want to, your doctor is a coach too, right? So if you want to achieve something, you just have to make sure that you find somebody who has either achieved that themselves or
exactly.
who's helped other people achieve that, right? You have to find that mentorship so that you're going to be successful. You're not spinning your wheels. You're not one of these people who's, had fatigue for 15 years and then comes to see me and gets better in 6 months just because they either didn't have the money or want to spend the money or have the resources or have the mentorship. They couldn't find the right person to help them resolve their fatigue.
Yeah. Well, on that point right there as well, you can't put a price on your health. If you don't have good health and a lot of energy, you're not going to be very successful in any aspect of your life, and you can't really enjoy your life. So
Right.
it's critical, to get a handle on this, and I really highly recommend you get a hold of Dr. Evan. It's just such a critical thing. It's going to make such a huge difference. And again, all the contact information is down below, so you know how to get a hold of Dr. Evan. So so well said. That was so good. I really appreciate that. So here's the last question for you,
Sure.
and I'd like to ask all my experts and see if we could keep on learning more what we can do. So here's the thing. Knowledge is wonderful, but if you don't take action on the knowledge and what you learn, it's useless, right?
Right.
So what ideas do you have to actually motivate people to actually take action on your recommendations?
So are you saying like, what should they do today
Well, not only
to,
that, but just do you have any ideas that will really inspire
oh,
people
totally
and
motivate.
motivate them to say, okay, I understand that, I'm going to take action, I'm actually going to do it, because people say, yeah, it sounds good, but then they just put it off and they don't do it, So you have any
Yeah,
ideas to get people inspired to step up and take action right now?
absolutely. Yeah.
Don't wait.
So a lot of people don't realize how bad off they are.
Yeah.
As humans, we're incredibly adaptable. But if you actually look at your life right now and look at your relationships and look at your health and look at even your finances, or all these different, and, your friendships, and look at all the different aspects of your life and rank yourself, on a scale from 1 to 10. If you're not a 10 in all of these, you're not living your best life, right? And you're not able to be the best person for the people that you love around you. Don't do it. If you're not going to do it for yourself, do it for your loved ones. Do it for your kids, right? So that you can be the best version of yourself. Because guess what? If you don't take care of yourself, you're going to die early. You're not going to be able to see what your kids do. You're not going to be able to see their marriages. You're not going to be able to see your grandkids. So it's incredibly important for you to understand how much this problem is affecting you. You're not getting the career advancement you want. Your relationships are suffering, all of these different things. And then you have to realize that all of that can go away. When you find a mentor, when you find a proven program, all of that can go away and you can be hiking again. You can have an active life. You can go on vacations. You can do whatever you want to do in life. You can be uber successful. I keep on saying Uber for some reason today. It seems to be my new favorite word. But you can be really successful. You have to realize that that is possible, and as humans, we don't take action. But you have to, every single day, you have to write down, what you're going to take action on. I have 3 things I've learned. I've done some productivity classes. I've spent, $100,000 on my mindset and my business over the last couple of years in order to become the person that I am today, and to continue to evolve, right? And one of those things that's really important is, what are the 3 things that I'm going to do today that is really going to shift my blank, whether it's shifting my business, whether it's shifting my energy, whether it's shifting my health, and so you have to, even if it's just one thing, what's the one thing that you can do today to improve yourself? And guess what? If you take one step every single day, you are going to meet your goal.
Right.
Today I'm going to research about going gluten-free, and then tomorrow I'm going to actually go gluten-free, or whatever it is, but taking those baby steps, you're going to eventually reach your goal. You just have to take that step, and you have to do it on a regular basis. It takes 21 days to make a habit and 3 days to break a habit.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know why,
Yeah.
evolutionarily that happened, but it shows you how important it is to have a practice. I talk about this a lot, about having a daily mindset practice that I take people through. But it's not just that, it's also making those baby steps so that you can make sure that you are going to be successful at whatever you want to be successful. Because if you don't have a plan, there's no way you're going to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. So well said, Dr. Evan. Thank you so much. That was so good, so well said. Just a couple of real quick points. Yeah, I mean, we're creatures of habit, and so everything we do is a habit. So why not have habits that serve us better,
Right.
right? We're doing things and then the other point is that, again, like you said, we brought out earlier, is that we are so much more powerful than you realize, and that knowing limitations of what's possible in your life it's right up here what you're thinking about,
Yeah.
so you can actually do this, you could actually have a much better life. You can have a lot more energy, and again, the last thing too was, remember, it's not just about having energy to do things, but this is about preventing serious illnesses, heart attacks, and all these other
Right.
illnesses. So you really got to get a handle on this. So I highly encourage you to contact Dr. Evan, and I promise you, you start following his recommendations, you're going to take your whole life and your well-being to the next level. So Dr. Evan, thank you so much for being here. That was so good. Thank
Thanks
you
for
very
having
much.
me on, Rico.
And thanks for being here as well.